Alright kids, so everyone tells you to recycle, save energy and water, but how? Here we're going to show you and explain step by step how to get started. We're going to explain how to start your own compost that you can make in your backyard, apartment, garden, or even on your balcony in your garage. But first, let's take a look what materials we're going to need for our project. First of all, we're going to need a bin. Plastic bin is fine, but try not to get it too big or too deep. This way, it's going to be easier to collect the compost. You're also going to need a drill, so go ahead and ask your dad or your neighbor if they can lend you one. A substrate, which can be any type of substrate. You can use straw, soil, or even mulch. It doesn't really matter. We're also going to need some shredded paper, so go ahead and clean out your desks. See if you can find any old papers, shred them, and we're going to use them in our project. We also need food, such as fruit and vegetables. And our main characters, worms. Red worms or European night crawlers are fine. Also make sure you have a scale. It doesn't necessarily have to be the typical Roman scale. In fact, the digital scale that your mom uses in the kitchen, or if you have a scale accessible from the lab, it will work perfectly. And finally, paper and pen, so you can jot down some notes as you go along. Our first step is to drill holes. We need to drill holes in the whole bin, in the lid and on the bottom, so the liquid can run easily through it, and also on the sides, so the worms get some fresh air. Next, we put the shredded paper on the bottom of the bin, and we cover it with substrate. As we said previously, it can be mulch, straw, soil, doesn't really matter. On top of that, we put our worms, and then next we add food. Practically, we can add any type of food to feed our little buddies, but I would recommend you stay away from citrus fruit, like oranges, lemons, grapefruits, because they can make the soil a little bit too acidic. It is also recommended to throw any type of vegetables and also eggshells. Try to stay away, however, from all sorts of meat and dairy products. They do cause very unpleasant smell in your soil. If you have enough space in your backyard or in your garden, you don't need to use the plastic bin, and that will save you some work on drilling holes in it. You can also just throw some soil or any substrate on the ground and have your compost there. Make sure you avoid very high or very low temperatures and keep the compost out of the direct sunlight. Now that we know how to make our own compost, we have to decide what we want to focus on, what do we want to observe, and what kind of variables we want to measure. We have three options. Option number one, we can weigh the organic residue before throwing it in a bin and observe how many days it takes for the little worms to completely get rid of it. Option number two is we can keep the same type and amount of the residue, and we can vary the temperature and pH and decide and measure and observe how that change affects the time of consumption. And the last option may be a little bit more advanced. We can collect their urine from the bottom of the container, mix it with water, and use that to water plants. As a comparison, we can use pure water to water the same type of plant, and then we observe and note the differences in growth. Is everything clear? Any questions? All right, so go find a partner or get in a team and let's get started.